I think the question is, what do you do? What do you watch for as the indicator? What's your indicator to tell you, is the market rolling over? And I think there's no industry that better reflects the recovery that we have experienced than the semiconductor industry. Remember, if you think about where the semiconductor industry was coming into 2025, the semiconductor industry had kind of lost some of the bullish sentiment, some of the bullish positioning. It went towards software. People said, okay, you're making the AI pivot. Now you have this remarkable comeback, and you have companies. I know we could talk about NVIDIA, but how about Broadcom? Broadcom is nearly $1.4 trillion in its market cap, marching to an all-time high. You're seeing that type of bullish momentum expand beyond there into the semi-equipment names. Lam Research, I think today, touched a new 52-week high. KLA Corp near a new all-time high. It goes beyond that. I've talked on the show over the last several weeks about the momentum in AMD. The momentum was building remarkably strong. The stock, Courtney, it's up 100%. From its April 8th intraday low. We're going to hear from Texas Instruments on Wednesday. Texan is near an all-time high as well. So I think the SMH is absolutely your tell here as we move forward. Look at their earnings, see the reaction. I think that's the ultimate indicator of the ability for the market to continue to climb the stairs higher and higher, or, to your point, if we're going to get this correction.
Well, my question is, what are the CapEx numbers from the hyperscalers going to be? That's what's going to drive everything.
It should be strong.
Well, the question is, they've been raising by 10, 20% each quarter. Are we going to get that again? And if we do, what the reaction? That's going to power the semis higher, if that's right. But then my question is, what do investors in those companies react? How do they react to that increase in CapEx? Because you're already starting to hear people say, you know, the free cash flow numbers are coming down. The spending is actually starting to impact the free cash flow numbers of even these huge free cash flow earnings. So I think that's going to be something really important to watch, is, are the CapEx numbers going to be raised again?
But let me try to answer that partially.
Please, I'd love to hear. I'd love to know.
I mean, it used to be, look, you and I have been a long time working together, and it used to be that in front of major CapEx cycles, that you stayed in the sidelines. And particularly for when product changeovers with software companies, you know, or tech companies, you get out.
Any capital spending cycle has been sold, not bought. This is very different.
And those were good moves because it would take a while. You'd lose business because, you know, who's buying a product now when in the future? I think it's a little different with these companies because AI is moving so fast that the big question 6 months ago, even 3 months ago, are they going to make money in their CapEx? And when are they going to make money?
And do I want to stay there?
Right.
But at some point they will. At some point you have to earn a return on this money.
I think they could, but I think it goes back to what's driving the market. What's driving the market are not people like the four of us here who've been in the business for decades, right? It's people that are investors, a lot of retail. They're buying index funds. That drives up the components. So it's a completely different market. And staying on the sidelines and asking those questions, and you did see pressure on Meta and Microsoft a few quarters ago because, wow, they're spending too much money. I think that at this point, that's old news. I'm not saying whether it's right or wrong, but it's old news. And right now, people are convinced, because of AI being the fastest adoption of any technology in history, that the payback will be quicker, and that they want to be there because they believe in the growth that'll come from the CapEx and are unwilling to time it, because guess what? They're also missing out on the moves of the stock. So until the stock starts saying, hey, no mas on that, I think it's going to keep going like it is.
But the tell will also be is when the hyperscalers say we're cutting back, but our earnings are going to grow, because that's when the return of investment is coming out. And I think if you get the momentum going, and Joe, to your world, if the software stocks start picking up because they're actually investing, you know, some of the Workday, Salesforces haven't done anything, right? Because they're the ones that people are not giving the benefit of the, you know, they're saying, hey, you need to prove it. So if that handoff happens, or they all work together, you could see another leg in this bull market.
If you're a bear, what you want to see happen is that the CapEx is there. You give the confidence that the CapEx will remain there, and then the reaction's bad. The reaction symbols some form of exhaustion in the stock price.
Market, right.
If you're a bear, that's what you want.
Well, that's what you, and at some point, though, you have to get a return on the money. It might not be this quarter, it might not be next quarter. I completely agree with you. That's what the market is saying. But at some point, somebody's going to look at these companies. I mean, and it happened, as you said, with Meta and the metaverse, and you're spending too much. At some point, some investors are going to say,
had it for a while.
What's the return? You're spending hundreds of billions of dollars. Your revenue is X, or you're not
but
even
in the meantime, you're right. But in the meantime,
right.
they're hiding that.
With their cash flows from their other businesses.
Right. Exactly. So, and companies like Salesforce, et cetera, I mean, the market assumes their business models are in jeopardy from AI.
Right.
So they're spending to stay alive versus Meta is spending to grow. But it is troubling. You take a look at Netflix and all these analysts who had to get out in front of the earnings and raise their estimates and raise the price target. That did nobody any favors because it was a great quarter and a great guide.
Right.
So then you make up stories, well, why wasn't this way?
Right.
So people start seeing ghosts and they sell it.
Well, I think that's happening in a lot of companies right now.
But even if you told me Meta's going to miss this quarter, right? What am I going to do about it?
Well, I think
I'm going to do nothing about it because I'm not going to pay taxes.
I agree with you, but I don't know that fundamentally you can anticipate that the spending is going to go away because we've had improvement in a lot of conditions.
There's no assumption.
No, it doesn't have to go away. The question is, but for to meet these semiconductor estimates, it has to keep going up.
That's the reaction, but I think you have to go in and say to yourself, okay, look, conditions on the ground fundamentally for semis have gotten better, right? There's been an improvement in the tariff environment, which was the concern coming into the beginning of the year.
Overhang,
that was the overhang coming into the year.
That was the governor on these stocks. Your demand externally ex-U.S. was going to get reduced.
Sure. And then you have the president and his administration in the Middle East announcing various deals. So you have to anticipate you're going to get some strong fundamentals.
And that's where the complacency of the market comes in. Because, yes, some of the issues with semiconductors relating to tariffs has gone away. As we know, it doesn't mean it won't come back this afternoon or tomorrow. But you take a look, but the worst of it's done, and the market's complacent about it. Take a look at Taiwan Semi. That stock bottomed about 150, 160 in April. It's hitting a new high virtually every day now. Phenomenal quarter. And they're arguably in one of the most tenuous situations, being in Taiwan, their principal operations, with China getting ready to invade Taiwan, supposedly at some point in the next 2 years.